Welcome back to the Super Tuesday recap, and this is our first episode of the mailbag. As your host, Chris and Deepam here, and our mailbag is where we have people email us in. We answer people, listener emails about comic books and movie, TV stuff, and we also have some topics we're going to cover later on, and we have a segment we're going to end with that I think you guys are going to enjoy very much. So we'll be doing some quick hits on some news that comes out that we come across. So we're going to jump right into this. Excuse me. We're going to jump right into this, and we're going to go right into some of the emails that we got. We got two this week, and I think they're pretty good ones. The first one was from Anthony. I'll read all the questions he has in here, and then we'll come back and then we'll answer them. Deepam and I will answer the stuff in here. So, hey, Chris and Deepam, what are some of your favorite comics that aren't from the big two publishing companies? Do you have your favorite artists or authors and comics that you follow from project to project? Which underrated comic book character needs a great solo book for people to learn to love them the way you do? And he says, thanks for all the work you all do and the content you create. So, with the first two, what are some of your favorite comics that aren't from the big two publishing companies? I'll go first here. My favorite comic right now that's not from the big two publishers is Uber. I think we did a comic book club on the first series is Kieran Gillen's book on that has the alternate future, well, not alternate past history of World War II, where the Germans come across a way to create basically superhumans, and the Allies steal the technology, and it's basically expanded out the war. They're now in their second run, which is Uber Invasion, where the Germany has now invaded America, with all the talk about people hating Nazis now and stuff like that, which cause I can't believe you have to say this now that Nazis are bad. I don't think that the book gets enough credit now because it's looking at World War II and it obviously involves Nazis. But I really, really like this book. And I want to say Uber Invasion is now 8 issues in. Uber itself ran for, I think, 23 issues.
23, yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite from the big two, not from the big two. I think it's from Avatar Press. And so that's mine. That's really the only one. I read some other stuff that's not in the big two, but it's usually older stuff, usually not the newer stuff, just because I have to read so much from the Marvel and DC stuff that I just don't have time to read anything else. But Uber's one of the ones I always stick with, and I highly recommend it. Like I said, we've done 2 comic book clubs on them already, so definitely check that out. Deepam, what do you have?
So outside the big two, I actually read a lot of it, but as I've mentioned on other platforms, I love your indie book, and I'll read your indie book, and I'll pay money for indie book. But it's hard for you to ask me to pay for your indie book if you're not going to get the room to tell your story. So if you don't have a commitment it's harder for me to on current ongoing non-big two books. I'm more apt to read once you've hit 10 issues. I'll go buy all 10 and I'll buy everything going forward, but I need 10 in the can. I need a story. I haven't read Uber yet. I haven't read Saga, and that's not my 10 issue thing. That's just me not having time. I think Chris is right. I think historically I've had more time and read more outside the big two. Some of my favorites, some of the ongoing that I still read that are not necessarily big two books. I read Invincible every month. It's the greatest superhero comic book I've read. And Robert Kirkman, who you guys know from Walking Dead, writes that. He actually wrote this first, so it's really good. It's one of my favorite books out there. We've talked about it 1,000 times if we talked about it once. More Than Meets the Eye / Lost Light, written by James Roberts, who we've interviewed a couple times in this network.
How's Lost Light? Because I haven't.
It's awesome.
Okay,
it's different. It's not different. And so More Than Meets the Eye was broken down. You and I talked about season 1 and season 2.
Mm-hmm.
This is season 3.
Okay.
They brought in a new artist for the first 8 issues. Jack Lawrence. His style took a little getting used to after like the heavily detailed stuff of More Than Meets the Eye. But Alex Milne is coming back, I think, in issue 13. And I like Lawrence's stuff, grew on me. Other outside the big two books, I read Walking Dead still every month. I don't watch the show, but I read the books because I have a problem. Historical stuff I've really loved that's non-big too. I love The Boys. By I think it's but The Boys is just super subversive and really well done. Why the Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan. I think those are the big ones. Oh, Garth Ennis' Preacher, obviously. Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good non-Big Two books. We may not be the place for them because you got to remember that we come to this entire genre of comic books through the lens of superhero comics. My first comics, the ones that grabbed my emotions and my imagination, were superheroes. And without speaking for Chris, I know that that's kind of where you got started too. And so for me, when I get to read outside of that stuff, like The Authority is like a subversion on superheroes, but I love it. And I think that there's room for all this stuff. And if there's anything, it's going to be good for me to challenge myself to find more non-Big Two books to read. Hopefully in 2018 when I have a little more free time and not planning a wedding and running whatever. I'm not going to. Yeah, it's been a lot.
A couple things. One, you're absolutely right. Like, I think even when it's not outside, it's outside of the Big Two, I still try to gravitate towards superhero stuff because that's my thing. That's what that's what I like, and that's what I like reading. Two, I keep forgetting that Saga is not in the Big Two, so I never mention that. And I still read Saga. I like Saga. Like I said, I usually just let it build up. 6 issues and then I read it that way. I think that's the other thing that hurts sometimes with these independent books too, that outside the publisher, is when they come out. Like I love Uber, but it can be a while before you get an issue sometimes, and so that hurts.
That's what I remember with Invincible too, is that there'd be like 6 months when there's no Invincible issues,
right? And so
that's an Image book. Like, that's not like a small Oni Press something or other. That's Image, the third of the big three.
Yeah, so that's the thing. And then two, I didn't want to mention The Boys because it is, that is a, I don't know, like, but it's a lot. But now that I know that you also have read The Boys, we might have to do a comic book club on that.
Let's go.
Because, like, I started reading The Boys going, oh, I can't believe I'm reading this.
Yeah, you feel like you're getting away with something. Like, they don't even know I'm holding it.
Right. So I actually had that down as one of the books before, and I was like, I can't mention The Boys. And then you mentioned, I was like, oh, okay, it's a safe space. We can do this.
It's a safe space. You good?
Oh man. So yeah. So that's what we got. And again, there's so and I'll you know what? I'll mention it now because I don't think it was mentioned before. I am reading Noble from Lionforge.
Ooh, is that good?
Yeah, it's good. Like it's one of the things that I would wait. I would wait to get more because the first. I just did the first. It's kind of weird how they broke their volume. They're now on volume 2. They break their volumes out in like 4 issues. So issue 5 is really issue 1 of volume 2.
Volume 2,
yeah, this is very weird.
They're probably just doing like a series of miniseries.
Yeah, and like I like it. It's interesting. I think that there's some weird things with some of their pacing and stuff like that. But it's clearly they're 5 issues and they're still kind of setting up the story. So again, it's small. And it's about black superheroes. I would go ahead, a black superhero. I would go ahead and pick it up. But I would actually wait until maybe they get all volume 2 done. They get their full 8 issues. You might have a more complete picture of their story. Okay. So, but yeah, I'm really trying to read the Catalyst Prime stuff. So I'm trying to get into some of that stuff, and I'm trying to get outside of that. The Big Two, but here's the thing: there's so much good stuff in the Big Two that,
right?
like there's a
really
lot of
good thread I retweeted. I forget, I had to do last week. I'll see if I can bump it and retweet it again when this drops. But it's from a comic creator talking about having the right for original IP versus owned IPs and how it's very different.
Yeah.
So I know people say, "Oh, you write the Big Two, you need a crutch." I'm like, well, actually, it's a different monster.
Yeah.
You got other considerations, and you got to tie your timeline. You can't miss a date. Like, it's very different than saying I'm going to write a creator-owned book that's 12 issues over 12 years. Like, that's different.
Yeah, like when I talked to Cullen Bunn about he was writing. Yeah. I talked to him for he was writing something for Dark Horse, Harrow County, which reminds me, the latest issue. I think that it got on break. I think it came back in September, so I need to go back and pick it up and finish it. He was telling me it's like, yeah, it's just a different monster. Like most of them like doing both. You know, they like because it's they like writing the big character, the X-Men and things like that. But it's different than writing your own story. When you write your own story, you have more time, and you're not your own editor, but you have your own.
You know where the story. You're the one who's in control where the story's going.
Yeah, yeah. So and it's just different. So, yeah. So that goes to the second part about artists and authors that we follow, throughout, from publisher to publisher, book to book. You want to take that one first?
Sure. And as I've gotten older, I've realized something. I follow artists a lot less than I follow authors. Like the artist list is short. Like it's like Frank Quitely, Olivier Coulompier, who drew all that Jason Aaron stuff for the first part of our last character corner.
Yeah.
Carlos Pacheco, I'll follow. Greg Capullo is making the list. I'm sorry, that Batman run was amazing.
Yeah.
But the artist list is short. The writer list, however, as it reaches, as I keep counting the new golden age of comics and nerd stuff, the writers list has gotten super long. Claremont, I know what everyone's thinking. T-Palm, we read The End. We read Extreme X-Men. It wasn't very good. And you're right, it wasn't. But Chris Claremont gets a pass. He'll always get a pass. He wrote the X-Men in the 80s. And I will hear no dissent. Not a syllable. Chris Claremont, the god. Now, Jeff Johns, he's reached a point with me. If he writes and I read it. Jason Aaron, and this is someone I forgot to mention, a book I forgot to mention in my Outside the Big Two. He is, so for those of you who've enjoyed Jane Foster's Thor and all the entire Thor run, which, by the way, and I was remiss in doing this. I didn't want to, this is a spoiler podcast, and I didn't want to spoil on the character corner, but if you at any point enjoy the character of Thor, there's a scene in Jason Aaron's Thor run where Jane Foster Thor hits the Phoenix with a hammer. And I didn't want to say that out loud. Like, one of the arcs is entitled The Shi'ar versus Asgard. Like, it is awesome. Like, mind-blowing. There's an arc called The Last Days of Midgard where we deal with the end of the Earth and one-armed Thor fighting Galactus.
Yes.
Like, the stuff that he has done in these books. And this guy who has a giant beard that's featured in the letter pages of the first run, the God of Thunder run. He's a hillbilly from small town Alabama. And he writes a book called Southern Bastards. And it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up Southern Bastards all the time.
And part of it's because I'm from the South. Part of it's I played high school football in the South, and I've used small towns like the town he describes. But also in the back of his first trade is his mother's pecan pie recipe. Like, this dude, like, he loves Thor, and he's a Southerner who loves football but hates a lot of what the South stands for. He is like me. Like, that's how I feel about Jason Aaron.
SJWs.
Go ahead.
I said SJWs.
Whatever, dude. We'll be those SJWs eating ribs and shooting shotguns. I'll be that. Brian K. Vaughan, I love. James Roberts, I've talked about enough and about and two, which, again, I'm just putting myself over with that one. I said Grant Morrison. Alan Moore. Robert Kirkman's on the list. And Dan Slott made the list now. And so did Nick Spencer, Rick Remender. And I want to put Bendis on there. But I don't feel great about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, I can't point. The thing is, I say that because I guess I'm just a cool nerd like the rest of us. But I can't point to a Bendis book I hated.
Right. It's one of those. It's one of those. I think Bendis is, to me, Bendis and Johns are the two guys. You say this and people go, oh, you know, people have a lot of stuff to say to them, but you go, well, did you like this? Oh no, I like that. Well, what about this? Oh, well, I like that. Well, what did you like? You
start, fuck that. Bendis is on the list. Thank you. You just talked me into it.
Because it's like you go, you're like, okay, so where did he fuck up? And it'll be like here and there, but it's like overall, but overall, I liked it.
Yeah, like, look at the picture, like the bigger picture. Did I love his obsession with bringing back Barry? No. But did I love his Wally stuff? Yeah. Do I still love his Barry stuff? Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. Johns and Bendis are on the list.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And if you're going to ask me about Remender's or Fraction Sex Criminals, excuse me, or Minder solo or indie books. I've read some of all of them. I need to catch up, and I apologize.
For me,
Who do you follow?
I've only recently done a better job of following creators. Like that's just my thing. Like it's only been a recent thing. Like last couple of years, I've actually paid attention to who's writing what. Like I'll be like, oh no, I like that. I like that story, and then I read the story, and I'll find out who wrote it. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like it's like when I found out that JMS was the same JMS who did Babylon 5. Again,
right?
We're this podcast is coming to you from the future because we haven't released. By the time this gets released, this is going to release. This is going to release. Yeah, this is going to release before our Thor Character Corner Part 2 gets released. And so once you hear that, you'll listen to this and you'll listen to our Character Corner, and you'll be like, oh, that's what they were talking about. Yeah, because we're coming to you from the future. But yeah, I didn't know JMS did Babylon 5, and he also wrote Thor. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, I like this guy. I didn't know this. So for me, I've done a better job. So it's like, obviously you got the Brian K. Vaughn's, Tom King, Kieran Gillen. I've liked it because some of these guys I started with their independent stuff. Like, so with Gillen, I started reading, Uber, and then I started finding out that he wrote other stuff. And I'm like, oh, he wrote this? I think he did it like some Wolverine stuff. Same with Brian K. Vaughan. I started with Saga, and then Why the Last Man, and I found that's the one he wrote. He wrote like a little mini Wolverine series. And I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Jonathan Hickman, obviously.
Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah, Hickman. Scott Snyder. I
got Snyder to mind because witches.
Yeah, Snyder's there. And a lot of them I haven't read their independent stuff, their independent stuff is on my radar. It's like stuff that's either in my wish list or things that I'm like, it's on my reading list of things to get to. Like, I think our next email has some recommendations, and one of them is Omega Men by Tom King. And I was like, yo, not only do I have that on my list, it's one of the list of stuff we're going to do a comic book club on. I just haven't gotten around to it. So, yeah, Gail Simone. Like, I want to read Clean Room. I always hear people talking about that, so I want to read that, and I always see her talking about it, so I want to check that out. And I remember when we read, what was it? What's the book? Secret Six. Yeah. So it was like that was great. And I love her writing.
She's doing for the New 52 version of that too. She wrote that too.
Yeah, I think. Wasn't that all on the same lines of like Scott Snyder stuff, where it's like the New 52 stuff didn't really affect him that much? She was able to tell her story.
Yeah,
to a degree.
Less,
yeah, to a degree. So is that I love what G. Willow Wilson is writing with Miss Marvel. So we have there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I end up reading, and I don't think about the artists. I definitely don't follow the artists. Like I should. Artists, I'm even worse artist than Deepom is. But our authors are something that I'm starting now to get a better handle on who the creators are and checking and reading them out there. Does this bring up one thing for me is that what I would like to start seeing especially the big two doing. And I know Marvel. Whenever we sell big two, people always focus on Marvel first. That's always weird to me. I'm like, DC has the same problem. What I would like to see them start doing, especially when it comes to like artists and writers of color, don't put them on the Book of Color, right? Like, don't put them on like World of Wakanda. Put them on a book that people are gonna have to buy. Put them on the Avengers, like. And I understand that you can't just put a new person on that stuff. I get you. There's plenty of people out there that have, that do have a background and put them on there. But it's kind of like how I think isn't David Walker going to be writing Justice League? I think he is. Yeah. Like, I want to start seeing that now. Hey, maybe they fail. Maybe it's not good. But start giving people of color a shot at the tentpole books that people are always going to buy, and that'll help get them more mainstream. And I think that's something that I think both companies need to work on and do. Because again, you put them on a niche book, on a character that people weren't really going to buy a whole lot of to begin with. that's going to be hard to get them out there. And it sets them up for failure. But you start putting them on a book that, hey, everybody's going to buy this because that's just what they do. You should do that more. So, let's see. The last thing you had in here was underrated comic book characters that need a book.
Let's limit ourselves to 2 each.
So this one, she's getting a book now, but I think it bears repeating. Storm. I know they haven't formally announced it yet. With Coates, I don't think writing it. But she needs a good book. She deserves a good book. She deserves to have it there. So I put that on my list. And this one's gonna seem a little weird. Wally West. I want Wally to get. I want the old Wally to get a solo book. I know he's in Titans, but I think he deserves a solo book just because he was a flash of us growing up, and I don't think Wally gets the credit he deserves as being the Flash. So I would like to see him get a solo book.
I have 2 as well.
Okay.
Though I'm having to change one because I had Wally.
Okay. So I sent.
No one believes us. No one believes when we say it.
Nobody will believe us. But no, when I sent the outline to this to Default, I only forwarded the emails. I gave him a general outline of what the questions were and how the format of the show was going. I did not share. Hey, these are the ones I'm going to talk about. I cannot believe we both had Wally West down for that one. That is fucking amazing.
I have to change that one, you asshole.
He does deserve one though. He deserves his own book.
He does deserve his own book. I don't know if you saw the solicits, but they're doing a Flash War.
Yeah.
So he's getting a little spotlight, which is nice, a little burn. I do want to say this, and I want to say it because this is a safe space. This is the mailbag. I'm one of the people who will always be against the Storm solo book.
Okay. I think that's valid.
Maybe call me old school. Call me. I also don't think a lot of X characters are best in solo books.
No, that's valid.
Because they work so well as a family.
Yes.
And it allows you to tell stories and rotate the lens. And I think a lot of these characters don't do the best under bright lights. Like they're doing Rogue and Gambit again. Like I'm like, hey guys,
yeah,
I get it, but at a certain point, let's just put them in the next book and tell some kick-ass stories. I am stalling.
I'll be honest. I only put Storm on here, and I think you're again safe space. I think you're right. Only reason why I put Storm on here are 2 reasons. One, because I knew they were doing the book, so it's like I'm kind of cheating here, going with the who deserve a good book. I'm like, so if you're gonna do it, it needs to be good. Don't just do it. And 2, because there aren't a lot of black. She's like the most well known black female character. So
see, and that's why my pick wants to change that. My pick was Spectrum.
There you go. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my female pick was Spectrum because Monica Rambeau is awesome. And the more like you go read like her 80s Avengers stuff, the costume sucks, but she's awesome.
Well, and she was in Ultimates and she was great there. And she used to have
was great, but Ultimates is like some. I don't know. Did you finish Ultimates?
I haven't finished it yet.
Okay, so it ends on some mind bending, like conceptual thinking Hickman type shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Monica leaves in a place that I'd never really seen her occupy, and it's a story that's super interesting to me. So I think that she could have a really good place in the Marvel universe. And for my mail, I took over to DC, and because you stole Wally West, you bastard. Let's get Tim Drake a book back, and I know what happened.
Oh my God! So here's the crazy thing. So here's the crazy thing. Tim Drake was my fallback. I didn't put Tim Drake on there because I thought that you were going to mention Tim Drake.
So the rule for the mailbag is we're recording this on the 25th. I will not spoil anything that came out today. Before today, fair game. But the day we record, I won't spoil anything. I will tell you this. Detective Comics has been a lot of fun the last couple months for Tim Drake fans. This month continues the fun. But I want to see a Tim book. I want to see a Tim, like, post-Robin, pre-whatever's next book. Like, because his Red Robin run by Nikita and Yost at the end of pre-New 52 is still one of my favorite 24 issues of comics.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great run. Yeah. So I literally had on here, hey, well, Tim Drake. That is fucking hilarious. And going back to Monica, yeah, she used to because she was the headline on the Miss Marvel book at one point. So, and she I could definitely see Monica would be a great choice for a solo book, and if Marvel ever wanted to go forward with a black female superhero character, bring her in a Spectrum into the movies, and there you guys have it.
Monica Rambeau needs to be a supporting character in the Captain Marvel movie. I'm not going to threaten anything because I'm going to see the movie no matter what, but please do it.
Yeah. So, yeah. There you go.
I'm not going to sit here and lie like I won't see it. That's a lie.
So, all right. Second email we got here, which is pretty good for the first one. Second email we have here from Peyton. I think this is mostly some recommendation here. He says, MTR crew, I love all the shows you all do. I just want to write into Mailbag Show. Comic book suggestions. Omega Men by Tom King is so good. Damn, that dude can write. Yeah, we definitely want to do that.
Oh, yeah, Tom King's on the list, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
After only 3 series, because what he's doing with Miracle Man right now, every month I read it, every month I'm like, do I need to cry? I'm very confused. It hits you emotionally, and it's super well done. Sorry.
You're going to do a Batgirl's character corner, but have you thought about doing Kate Kane? She's kind of underrated. So again, funny you should mention this. Yes. So the short answer to this is yes.
How about you stay out of our text messages?
Yeah. So basically we've already recorded part 1 of our Batgirls character corner, and that is Barbara and Stephanie. Part 2 has Cassandra and Kate in it, and so we had already planned on doing that. We call it Batgirls, even though she's Batwoman, but yeah, she's included in that. So we're way ahead of you. We're definitely including Kate in there, so just stay tuned for that. That'll probably be recorded sometime middle to end of November, so you'll definitely get some Kate in there. So the new Black Bolt by Saladin Ahmed is pretty great. I've heard great things about this. He made me root for Crusher Creel. All the Remender Image books, Black Science, similar to the old show Sliders, but more serious and dark. There's the Low, then Deadly Class, and finally 7 to Eternity. Here's a few.
I have Deadly Class somewhere. I own Deadly Class.
A few honorable mentions: Green Arrow Rebirth. I started reading Green Arrow Rebirth when Rebirth first started, and I really did like it. I just haven't stayed up with it.
I have stayed up with it. It is still good. That's all I have to say about it. It's good.
Yeah, I need to get caught up on it. So, Injection, Lazarus, the Power series by Bendis, Birthright, and Noble. Again, somebody asked me about Noble. Yeah, I've been reading Noble. Like I said, it's pretty good. Like I said, I want to check out the rest of the Catalyst Prime stuff they're doing at Lion Forge. Like I said, I think they're still trying to get some of their footing on it, but it's not bad. And if you want superhero stuff and you want black superhero stuff, it's there. So, not bad. By the way, at some point, y'all got to do an Invincible character corner. Probably do an Invincible combo book club.
That's never happening.
What?
The character corner is never happening.
Yeah, combo book club probably more.
Do a combo book club.
Yeah, probably more.
I can't do an Invincible character corner.
Yeah.
I'll be here all day.
Yeah. And it says there's a new Friday night sci-fi show called Superstition. I did hear about this, but a black family that fights the occult is surprisingly good. It has a black fatherhood has that black fatherhood moment. It was too strong. They had me head tilt a couple times. Check it out. I'll talk to Ashanti, and maybe we'll do something for Nostalgia for that. So, all right, let's move on to the second part of our mailbag. It's the topic of the day, and the topic of the day, we've talked about this before. We want to kind of go into why the Robin and the DCEU. We've already talked about why they should do a Robin in the DCEU. And we're going to go into why it should be Tim Drake real quick. And I kind of first want to start off by saying, I need you to understand that when we say Robin, we actually mean Robin. Like, I remember when I did the article, I was getting some comments from people going, oh, no, you're right. I would love to see Nightwing, and I would love to see... That's not Robin. And see, Thor agrees with me. He agrees with me. That's not Robin. We actually mean Robin. Not the later iteration of Robin. We want the actual... Robin, the boy wonder. We want, you don't want Nightwing, don't want Red Hood, Red Robin. We want Robin. So, that should be the first thing that people need to understand, that there's a distinction there. Once a character becomes, once Tim Drake, Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing, he's no longer a Robin. And you read the latest issue of Batman, right?
First of all, once Robin, always Robin.
I mean, okay, yeah.
But no, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
We need the symbology and the iconism of having Robin. Batman and Robin carries weight. Batman and Robin can never die is the last words of Grant Morrison's Batman run. I am 100% on your side. It can't be Robin adjacent. It can't be Robin with an asterisk. It can't be graduated Robin. The word Robin has to appear. It has to be the daring young man in the flying trapeze. If you work in a yellow cape, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the first issue of what's it Rules of Engagement, the Tom King doing with Batman, and this is not spoiler. I think this came out last week, where it's Dick, Jason, Duke, and Damian, and Alfred's kind of telling them that Bruce has proposed to Catwoman. And like Jason looks at Duke and is like, "This is your fault. You're the Robin." And Duke's like, "First of all, I'm not a Robin. He's a Robin." He points to Damian, and Damian's like, "No, it is my fault." And he breaks down. It's like, yeah, like you gotta have that hierarchy. You know, it's like being a Robin matters to something like that. So I guess the first thing is, I think a lot of people's. So let's take out what we already have seen in Batman vs Superman versus the Jason costume and. Again, we're talking about
reset the continuity as they're going to in about 2 months.
Right. Because we don't know when Matt Reeves' Batman movie takes place at. So, and they can do whatever they want with it. So, at this point, every Robin is on the table. So we can say, hey, you can start from the beginning and give us Dick Grayson, and say there. And my thing is my argument against Dick Grayson is basically like, well, that would be nice if you start with the first Robin. I feel like he's almost too similar to Bruce, and you wouldn't get the separation you would get for some of the other Robins. Like,
and I think I agree with you. It should be Tim Drake, but for different reasons. I think if you wanted to do Dick, the only drawback is that we very recently seen Batman Year One and Batman Begins. Mm-hmm. And Dick arrives in year 2, I believe. Like, the continuity is all weird, but Dick arrives around year 1.5, year 2.
Right.
So while I think that Dick Grayson, and I disagree that he's too similar to Batman because he's similar to Batman in interacting with others.
Right.
But like there are enough comics where Batman says, someone will say, "This is the Batmobile," and he says, "Never show that damn kid name stuff." Like there's a reason it's called the Batcave. It's not because Bruce Wayne has an affection for funny names for things.
Right.
It's because the childlike wonder and exuberance. It's like you said in the wonderful article currently on MTR Network. It states that Dick is the childhood that was lost.
Right.
Is found in the Robin. Is found in Dick Grayson. He's the reason why the title of Robin exists. He wore the same red dress when he was flying with the Flying Graysons, and Mother called her his little Robin, and that's where it comes from. He's literally the world's brightest decoy because the idea is that if they're hunting him, Batman can go to work.
Right.
And then even when Dick eventually goes on his own and fights by himself, he says, "I'm always at an advantage because when they're fighting me, they're wishing they were fighting him." Mm-hmm. So Robin is it's a symbol that matters, and Dick Grayson would be a great starting point. My biggest caveat for that is I don't want to see year 1 Batman.
True. Yeah. You can't really do it. You can't do a season of Batman and have Dick Grayson and Robin.
You can, but at that point you've got it because they kind of grew into this together. So by the time you've got season kind of quote unquote the Batman they've like the Bat God they like to depict in other media. Mm-hmm. By the time you reach that point, you've reached the point where Dick Grayson's nearly a man, and he's saying, "I don't want to live under your house. I don't want to do things by your rules."
That's what I'm saying. It's like you basically get the Batman and Robin from Joel Schumacher, where you get like basically a grown ass, like Batman's arguing with a grown ass man. It's Robin in his cave. You're just like, there's 2 grown ass men arguing. You guys, it's not okay. You can't call you Boy Wonder right anymore. Yeah, this is too much. So.
And I think part of that youthful exuberance is intrinsic to Robin. I think you could tell the story of the breakup of Batman and Robin. Like you could tell that's been a good well to go to for a lot of different continuities, including the animated series, including the comic books, including other cartoons. It's been well-trod ground because it's emotionally rich. It's a boy leaving home to decide to become a man. It's the coming-of-age story with domino masks and spirit gum.
Yeah, I just it just at this point I don't think that's the.
No, that's not the story we need to hear from Batman. Right now, the place they've left this character in, you need to get to the core of Batman. And that, I think you and I can both agree, points to Tim Drake. My question for you now, I think we're going to bypass Jason Todd.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we're bypassing Jason
Okay.
Todd, yeah.
I was reading a book today. I'm not going to spoil which book, but Damian walks up on Jason and Tim talking. He says, or no, actually, it's an old book. It's called Robin. It's Robin War 1 from last year. He says, "Oh look, it's the Robin who couldn't stay alive and the Robin everyone forgets." And I was like, "Damian's an asshole." And so, can you explain to listeners why we think it shouldn't be Damian?
I the reason why it shouldn't be Damian, because one, I don't think in order, cause I like Damian as Robin, I do, but I like Damian as Robin only if you can write him correctly, and I don't trust right now Warner Brothers and what they do. Because here's the thing, we believe it should be Tim Drake for all the reasons that we stated. They're going to try to do Damian because Damian feels like the rush job that DC would do. And to me, I think that you can't do Damian without showing the other Robins, because I think that Damian's a little kid who is trying to live up to the legacy of his father. And if you don't have those other Robins there, I don't think that it comes off well. It comes off as just like some spoiled kid, and you miss a lot of nuance with it. And so you need to you need to have the other Robins around and show that first and build that rapport up there, to then have this cocky kid come in who thinks he's just going to be a Robin. He's just going to, because he's his father's son, and he's just going to take over this. Like, you need those other Robins there first. You can't just jump into Damian because you miss all the context. You just can't do it, And I think, but I also think that's why I see DC doing it, because they don't understand that. It's kind of like how they rushed into doing the death of Superman in BVS. It's like, wait, you can't just rush into that story and then bring him back then in Justice League. That's not that you've removed all of the purpose of Superman dying and then why he's necessary to come back. So I think that's why you can't do Damian right now. Like, I think it's a very, very poor choice to do Damian without having previously established the other Robins.
But I think, am I alone in being afraid this is what they're going to do?
No. I know this is what they're going to do. Like, I fully believe that, like, it needs to be Tim Drake. They are going to do Damian because he's the latest iteration in the comics. He is the current Robin, and they won't understand that he only worked. Because again, what sells you on Damian as Robin is that Batman and Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin run. Like, that's what sells me on Damian. But at that point, Damian has started to earn the right. It's his journey into being Robin, just like as much of a journey as Dick Grayson into filling the shoes as Batman that he never really wanted to do, right? And so you're getting the journey of these two characters, and that's why it works. You can't do that story in the live action. Like, it's just, there's too much to do. You can't just have, because how would you even do it? You'd bring in and be like, oh yeah, here's you have to make the Batman movie the story of how Damian even came to exist, which means you have to bring in Talia al Ghul, you have to bring in the Al Ghul to begin with, right? Then you have to say she basically raped Batman, got pregnant, it is way too much to do.
He's tied to so much continuity that his parentage matters, his grandfather matters, and to just come in cold and assume Ra's al Ghul and
you can't do it.
Strings is presumptive.
You can't do it. You have to, because even like that moment when he goes and faces down his mother and says, "No, I'm not gonna be what you want me to be anymore. I'm gonna be a Rob. I'm gonna be my father's son." Like, that is a defining moment for Damian, and you have to establish what was going on. You have to establish the war between Batman and Ra's. If you don't do that first, then bringing in Damian doesn't matter, you know, because you have to bring in Talia al Ghul and have her, and have the audience kind of think that at first she's not that bad. She's not as bad as her dad. Then you realize she is as bad as her dad, right?
She might be worse.
She might be worse than her dad. And then it's so much other stuff there with Damian. You can't just bring Damian in and say, "Yep, here he is. He's the son of Batman, and he's Robin now." Like, no, you cheapen.
You know what you could do, and this is, and I know we're not going to get too far into this in the mailbags. We'll have to stop ourselves, but a little fantasy booking. You could tell the story first movie. Tim is Robin, Bruce is Batman, and he meets up with one of his old masters, and that's kind of the framing narrative of the story. You use a stinger to establish that something happened when he was training he didn't know about, and you use the next two movies to introduce Damian and set up the war and set up Damian telling his mother no in movie 3. I think you're right that moments that we want most and that you can mine most for narrative for Damian have to be earned.
And not only that, but the Batman that has Damian as his Robin is a seasoned Batman that has been through many other Robins. You know? Like, the Batman we see right now, currently, is a Batman who's dealing with clearly, and again, they can reset the narrative, stuff like that, but from what we've seen, this is a Batman that needs Tim Drake. He's a Batman who's kind of broken, who's distancing himself from everybody else. Like, everything you heard Alfred saying to Batman and BVS. It's like, that is a Batman when you need, like, again, there's that moment that came in that Detective Comics from a couple weeks ago where, they retell you how Tim went to Dick Grayson and kind of told him, it's like, he needs you to be Robin again. He needs a Robin. Batman needs a Robin. He's getting sloppy. He's messing up, and it's because he doesn't have a Robin. He needs somebody there. Like, that is what Tim Drake is. Tim Drake is the Robin to kind of set Batman back to being Batman, to get him back on his solid footing. Damian's a wild card, and I don't know if you can introduce a wild card to this Batman right now. I just don't think that narratively that works. So
can't upset the apple cart. There's no apple cart.
Exactly. But again, that goes to why I believe that they'll do Damian, because that's what. Again, we'll see after Justice League. Maybe they change. They finally do set their footing and they change everything. But goodness, man,
I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, this is a place that tries to deconstruct heroes before they've even constructed them. So they'll go with Damian. So, all right, last thing before we get out of here. These are our quick hits. We're calling the segment "Good, Bad, and Indifferent." We're going to do some quick takes on some movie, TV, and comic news coming out. And we'll say if we think it's good news, bad news, or if we're indifferent and why. And we'll try to keep it short. So for the first one, the Justice League runtime is way shorter than initially told. We were told that initially we were looking at like almost 3 hours. The runtime's under 2 hours. It's an hour and 59 minutes. So, D-Palm. This good, bad, or are you indifferent to this news?
It's bad.
Okay.
If 3 was the rumor, and maybe I'm old school, call me an old person, I don't care. But 1, the timing of the movie worries me. This is a movie you put out in the summer to be a tentpole, and that's something you dump in the winter. 2, you've got to introduce 5 heroes. 4? 5? 4. You got to introduce 4 heroes. You got to establish personal motivation for each one of them. You got to establish power sets. You don't have to, but I know you will, you greedy fucks. And then you have to bring them together, create an enemy for them to fight, and resolve it in under 120 minutes. I was never a fan of the 3-hour runtime, but I thought, they'll edit it down to 220, 230. Because they kind of have to. They've asked themselves to do a lot of heavy lifting in this movie, and to do it in sub 120, I think it should worry.
Yeah. I'm with you on everything you said. I'm indifferent to this only just because I've been indifferent to the whole Justice League movie to begin with.
See, I was coming from the paradigm of caring about the movie.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Like, I honestly at this point, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect from it. I'm with you though. I've always said this. There's so much they have to do in this. Zack Snyder fucked them up and tied their hands down because there's so much they have to do in this movie. They have to introduce these 4 or 5 characters, set their personal motivation up. They still got to bring back Superman. You got to do all that, and you still got to bring back Superman.
And we've seen from the trailer, you're going to be going to each one of those little worlds. Like you're going to see Barry and his dad, and Aquaman, and poorly animated CGI underwater.
Well, I you know what? Here's the thing. I don't know if you are. I think they might have cut some of that stuff out. It might still be in the trailers. They might have cut some of that stuff out. But this goes back to when they were like, "Hey, yeah, we cut out Kirstie Clemens as Iris West," and I was like, "Oh, of course you did. You had to." So
why was she in there in the first place?
Right. So I'm indifferent because I don't know if this is good or bad. Like there's so much they have to do. So I think narratively it hurts them because they already had to cram so much story into this. But cutting it down, I think also shows that they understand that those long ass runtimes were not doing them any favors. So it can go either way for me. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. So second one. Gambit finally has a release date. This is after I was saying that they're never going to release this movie. They finally put a release date out for Gambit. It's 2019, right? Hold on, let me see. February 2019. D-Palm, I already know what this is going to be. Are you good, bad, and indifferent on Channing Tatum as Gambit?
I'm good.
Be good.
I'm good on him as Gambit because he seems to give a damn.
Okay.
I can't speak to the rest of the project. I think it's good that they got a release date because I hope that means that people got some checks. I want to see some like gaffers and lighting people get paid. I don't think this movie ever happens, but if it happens, it will be bad because Fox is involved. But it won't because it will not be your boy's fault. It will not be Channing Tatum's fault. This movie's bad. It will be bad.
Okay. I'm going with bad. It's not, and I'm not, and I am a staunch Channing Tatum hater. I have come across, I have been.
How do you hate Channing Tatum?
Let me finish. I have come around over the last few years because he does do really well in things like I liked him in, even though the movie wasn't that great, the last Kingsman movie, great in that. I loved him in the 21 and 22 Jump Street stuff. He does really good in comedy. He does really good when he's himself. He's very loose and things like that. My problem is I don't see any of that. Any of the traits that make him good in the movies I see that I like him in, I've seen none of those traits in Gambit. And I don't know if he can. And I don't know if he can pull that off. So
he's kind of charming. He's an objectively good-looking human being, and he's from the region.
Yeah. So again, maybe
I'm letting him shoot a shot.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Maybe Channing Tatum surprises us, and again, like you said, this could turn into another Deadpool where he's been holding on to this project for a long time.
He's the driver. He's the one who will not let this stupid dream die.
Yeah, and exactly. So maybe he pulls it off. I'm just saying that I don't know, and I've never heard him with the accent. I know he's from the area, but
They don't do the accent.
Huh? You hope they don't do it.
The fuck's the point? They can't even write it right. It's not consistent across 3 books by 3 different writers. Why would you subject it to my ears?
Valid. That's a valid point.
Honestly, at one point he says something in one book, and then the next writer in the next book in the crossover, because it's all in the X office, made a joke about, made the characters in the story made a joke about something he says is, yeah, I don't know if we talk like that, but I turn it up sometimes. Like, what?
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. I'll just say this, and I don't blame, but it goes back to something that I think, what's David Sandberg, I think, is doing Shazam. It's like, he's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If they don't give him the accent, then the people will have a problem. Like people were complaining about, Michael B. Jordan not having an accent as Killmonger, and I was like, there's a reason for that, but whatever, okay. So if they don't do an accent for him, I'm actually okay with it, because I think that's a positive for Channing Tatum, because I don't think he can pull it off. But people will be mad if he doesn't have the accent. So, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I guess I think, yeah, I'm not sold on Channing Tatum as Gambit here. And the last one we have here, another movie that we said we're still not sure it's really going to happen. But they say they're starting production. Venom production on Venom starts soon. And if this movie does happen, do you think this takes Venom off the table for the MCU? And is that good or bad?
I think it's good that it's off the table. I think it does take it off the table with the MCU. I think that's good because while you'll still have people who don't know about movie rights saying, "When are we getting the Venom story?" It removes like, I don't need a Goblin story. I don't need a Venom story. I don't really need a Doc Ock story. We've done a heavy character corner just on the bad guys of Spider-Man. Let's dig into that well some. How about Kraven's Last Hunt? How about the Sinister fucking Six? There are lots of stories you can tell that don't involve those three characters. Mostly, if you can avoid, because the temptation for Venom and what's going to happen with this movie, if it occurs, is you're going to go full 90s and you forget that it's 2017. It's the same problem that the Punisher television series is going to have. Some of that mindless destruction got a little bit more mindful over the last 20 years. We'll see how it plays.
They're already saying they're bringing in Carnage, so you already know they're kind of...
Nigga, look, sure, why not?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one.
Symbiotes they can drop. Toxin, Hybrid, Lasher, let's go. Scream, let's do this. I'll name all the shitty symbiotes they threw at us in the 90s.
Yeah, I got to go with this is good if it's off the table for the MCU. Just because, well, here's the thing. There's something else we talked about here. I think that, we'll just say it, Venom is overrated.
The most.
He's overrated.
Particularly this version of Venom they're trying to push.
Yeah, this Venom.
The version of Venom from Bendis' Guardians of the Galaxy run, that's really interesting.
Is that the Flash Thompson one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're doing Eddie Brock. So and Eddie Brock is the Venom that is most well known and most people talk about when they say Venom.
Back in the comics.
Right. And yeah, no, he's very, because remember when we did our Rogue War stuff for this, we were just like, oh yeah, and then there's Venom, and we have Venom, and he's actually lower on the list than we thought he should be, because his stuff is like it's yeah. So I actually think you're right. I'm with you on this one. I think that if he's if they do this and they don't connect it to Spider-Man and is off the table for the MCU, I think that just helps the MCU Spider-Man, because I mean, yeah, I know Tom Holland said that he would like to see the Venom in there, blah blah blah, whatever. Yeah, don't listen to the actor.
Tom Holland, you'll do what we say. We back this dump truck full of money to your house.
Exactly.
Be quiet and be Spider-Man.
I mean, think about it. They
maybe, just maybe, we'll get you a clone that you can play as of 2, and you can be Ben Reilly too. Get 2 paychecks. Play nice.
The Ben Reilly agenda.
Look, if we don't have Venom, I'm getting closer to Scarlet Spider. Prove me wrong.
I'm looking it up now. Yeah, Spider-Man: Homecoming made $880 million, and I think it's still in the theaters. So it could still, it probably won't, but it could still end up topping maybe, Spider-Man 3 as the highest grossing Spider-Man film of all time. So, and they did it with Vulture as the Venom, as a villain. So, yeah, I don't think that the MCU needs to have a big name Spider-Man villain to do well. I think that they know what they're doing. And I think they will probably have like I said, I can see them going with Kraven, or I can see them going with somebody that we haven't done before. Like,
Kraven's so perfect and grounded for this MCU.
Yeah, it is. It's perfect. You can still introduce, Osborn, because I think at some point you got to go with the Osborns. But you have to, but you can use Kraven. You can use somebody else, and even with as far as the MCU, I can see them not going. I can even see them not introducing Osborn, because as much as you want them to, think about Osborn, such a big character that gets so much larger than that. If Marvel doesn't have the character rights to Spider-Man, so why would they want to? I can see them going, we don't want to use these huge characters that have far-reaching. That reach far into the Marvel universe, we're not going to be able to use them going forward. So we'll just make another movie, make another small movie, and make it with Kraven. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think it's good if that happens. So so let's see. What was this?
That was the last one, right?
Yeah, that was the last one here. I'm seeing something. Oh God! Somebody wrote an article saying the Spider-Man: Homecoming made doom us to endless reboots. That's not. Oh God! People write the dumbest articles sometimes. Anyway, guys.
Instead.
Yeah. Just email us instead. We'll do your hot takes. So, that is the first episode of the mailbag. I think we did pretty good. Kept it under an hour. send us in any of your questions, your comic book questions, or your movie, TV show questions, especially if they're not something that we're reviewing right now. We'll read it on air. We'll go from there. Email us at mailbag@mtrnetwork.net. Listen to this. You're already subscribed on the Super Tuesday recap feed, so thank you guys very much. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. And I thank you guys very much. And we will be back at the end of November. We'll try to do this once a month. So we'll be back at the end of November with another mailbag episode that we'll put out there. So, you got anything else you want to say, D-Bomb?
We're good.
All right, folks. Thank you very much for listening. Till next time, we're out of here. Peace.